Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Write or Die Show. I am your host, Randi-lee. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking to Mary Elizabeth Jackson. So welcome. Super excited to have you on the show.
Hi, I am so excited to be here. Yes, I am.
Excellent. Where are you visiting us from?
Planet Earth today. No, I'm kidding. My son's into all the planets, so we're always talking about different planets.
Nice.
Yeah. So now you get me. I am near Nashville, Tennessee, actually. So near Music City, and yeah, we live a little ways out, and so it's really nice to be out of the city and then go in whenever but not in the chaos, because it's like, I would say New York. I mean, I would say Nashville is like a small New York. It's just so amazingly packed with tourists. It's just amazing downtown.
Yeah, I live by Niagara Falls, so like I totally get
wow. I've never been there. I've always wanted to go.
Oh, it's nice, but I mean, like I said, I live like 20 minutes from there, and so I'm kind of like, I don't want to go and see all the tourists. Right. So I'll go usually like in the winter, because then there's less tourists.
Right.
Sorry.
Well, and that's how I was about Disney growing up, because we saw the fireworks from our house. My first job, at 16, I worked there. And so growing up with it and living there, you have no idea how spoiled you are to such coolness.
Yes.
But then you move away and you're like, oh, like everyone's crazy about Disney.
I know people come from all over to see the falls, and I'm like, turn on your tap, it's running water.
I know. I know. Isn't
the
that
fun
terrible?
of it, the like majesticness of it or whatever. I'm just like,
and I've seen it all my life.
Yeah,
I've seen it my whole life. It's not a big deal. I know. And so isn't that funny how we're just like, we don't really get it until we're away from it,
Yeah.
And it's really terrible. So I have a 21-year-old, 18 and 8, and they've never been to Disney World.
I am 34 and I've never been to Disney World.
Okay, so when we go, you have to go with us.
I'm totally down for that.
Okay, let's go. I'm hoping in this next year or two. And we have a good friend of ours, my husband and I, and he's the head of guest service, at Disney World. So he's got all this stuff planned, and then COVID hit and they shut down. I was like, oh no.
We were planning on going to Cuba last year because we went 2 years ago before the pandemic hit. So we were going to go last year too. And then we're like, well, I guess we're not going nowhere.
I know.
So we bought a pool.
Backyard.
It's kind of
you bought a pool?
Yeah, we bought a pool instead.
There you go. Are you the pool girl? Because I used to be the pool girl.
We still have it open. Okay. And I went in it last weekend, but we got a heater in it this year.
Okay, I was going to
say,
but
it does need to close soon. Like it's getting chilly. Very chilly.
Yeah, I know. It's fun to have a pool, but it's so much work.
It's not too bad, but yeah, there's some upkeep and whatnot, but it's worth it. So worth it.
Oh, sure, absolutely. We have a neighborhood pool, so we let we let the people take care of it now. So we have been having food trucks come on Tuesday nights, which is really cool for the neighborhood. So a lot of people will get the food truck, go to the pool and hang out. So it's cool. Isn't that cool? So it brings in a lot of community feel here in this neighborhood. Tuesday night was our last night for doing it before the pool closes on Sunday. So the kids decided to do the polar plunge, not the adults, but the kids.
I know.
And they had so much fun for about 2 seconds.
I know. I love when the kids are in there. And I mean, I was like this when I was little too, but now as an adult, I'm like, oh. But they're in there like, I'm not cool. I'm not cool.
I know. Mr. Blue, finger blue.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, you're definitely cool.
Yeah, get out. Let's go. Hot shower.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump into our main topic and tell us what mental health you have dealt with or are dealing with.
Well, it's been kind of lifelong. And I think when you've dealt with lifelong things that are mental health, they can morph and change. So when I was a child, I went through anxiety. My parents divorced and my grandparents died like all in the same year. So what a way to just kind of flip a child's life upside down, right? And create that feeling of the world is not safe, and where is my safety? So that triggered that when I was a child. And then that kind of, it dissipated. And then it was interesting, in my mid-20s, early mid-20s, when I was getting married and everything, I had some health issues that happened. Well, that set some stuff off for me physically. I mean, it just like took my life and just, I mean, it really did.
Yeah.
And I went into agoraphobia,
Okay. And
panic
for
attacks
those who
were
don't know
so bad.
what that is, please
Yes.
explain.
Yes, I know that's a word that, I didn't even think about it not being a word that people would realize until an anthology I'm in, and we were doing interviews, and I said it, and they're like, "What?" And
Yeah.
what is and so it is fear of open spaces. It's also the fear of closed in spaces, of feeling
Oh,
claustrophobic.
see, I didn't
That was
realize that part.
right. That was my truth. That was part of mine, was that. So it's got that component to it, because things can be different from person to person. It's
Yeah.
like a child with special needs.
Oh, yeah.
But it's mostly it's that fear of open spaces, but it's also that fear of like, say you went to the grocery store and you had a panic attack, like in the parking lot or in the store, even, right? You would never want to go back to that store again. Like, you would do all this avoidance, drive different routes, take different streets, and never go back there again. So that's all part of agoraphobia, not being able to leave your home, or I don't know, wherever you live. It was so bad in my late 20s that it was so hard for me. It's so weird for me talking, Sandy, because I've come so far from that place. I know you
Good.
can overcome it. That it was so bad that, I mean, I couldn't leave my apartment to go down to the mailbox and get the mail some days.
Yeah. Yeah. My kid, my youngest, when he's almost 15 now in like 2 weeks. By the time this
Mhm.
episode airs, he'll be 15.
Mhm.
But when he was like 9, 10, he was going through some of that and could not get him to leave the house like at all.
Mm.
Wasn't going to school. We were doing all the work at home, wouldn't even like go for a walk around the block. Yeah, it was hard. But now he goes to school some days,
Mhm.
but gets out of the house more. Usually we go for at least one walk a day, walking the dog. So yeah, you can learn skills to help you in order to cope with it.
Right. Or medication.
Yes.
Sometimes people go, that is. I mean, we can't stop living our lives. But, I've learned so much since that period of time. What happened for me was I got to that place where it was like, I cannot do this anymore. This cannot have this much control over my life. And even though when we're going through a panic attack or anxiety, you feel like you're going to die. Like I always said, it was like somebody dropped me off in the woods and there's a bear chasing me, because that's basically how you feel,
I
right?
like that analogy.
Isn't that good? Wouldn't that be like one of the highest forms of it might have, right? And it's not the adrenaline of like you chose to jump off a cliff, bungee jump. I mean, you made that choice. That's a different kind of fear, in
Yes.
fight or flight. But this is like survival mode. Like you're going to die if the bear gets you, right?
Yeah.
So it can reach that point of that intense fear. But just because you feel it doesn't mean you're going to die from it, right?
Yeah.
So if it doesn't have that much power over you, then you have control here. You've got some control, because I think when you're agoraphobic, you feel like you have no control, because there's all this stuff firing off in you and your physical sensations and everything happening, and you feel like it's happening to you, which it is, but there are tools that you can apply to help you to overcome them. Some of that's mindset. Some of that's learning to override that, in your brain and your thinking. And where do you put your focus? And I don't know about you, but I'm an empath and I'm a highly sensitive being, intuitive. So when we're like that, we're picking up, it's kind of like having an antenna that's going off all the time. So
Yeah,
you're
I think my
picking,
kid is like that.
I'm sure your child is. Most kids born these days are. And so what you first of all, it takes learning and understanding, kind of expanding that awareness about yourself, that in certain situations, it's like being a sensory person who is oversensitive to everyone else around you. So you're picking up on all that stuff that people are going through. In a room you come into, you have no idea what all those people are feeling, but because you're so sensitive, it's like the energy of your body expands out and touches everyone around you. So you almost get to, it's sort of like which Star Trek is it? The second one, maybe, where Spock touches, oh, don't want.
I got nothing.
That's okay. Okay. So it's sort of like if you were to touch someone and feel them, feel what they're going through and see a picture in your head of their life and their experiences. But it happens on an energetic level in a way that your body feels it. Okay.
Okay.
So if you are picking up, think about when you sit down next to somebody in a room and maybe you're feeling fine, but then you some or not, and all of a sudden you start feeling kind of cranky or irritable or aggravated or nervous. That's their stuff you're picking up on. Does that make sense? Has that ever happened to you?
That does make sense.
Yes.
No, not to me. I don't.
No.
I mean, maybe, but not off the top of my head.
Okay, gotcha. It does happen to people. And I think for our kids are so gifted, right? I mean, children are brilliant, period.
Yeah.
But they're also very open. And so teaching him ways to kind of shield himself, feel like he's got kind of a bubble around him.
Yes.
And so that he feels more protected and safe when he, so he can go out and he can go do things.
Yeah.
That's a very helpful tool. I've used it with my own kids.
That's awesome. So what are some of the coping strategies that and I know you've sort of touched on them a little bit, but what are they that you use to get over the agoraphobia and later just dealing with panic attacks and anxiety?
Well, I had to decide for myself it was enough, that I had enough. Okay. This is not
I think that's a really good point. Sorry, I didn't mean to, well,
no,
I
go
didn't
ahead.
mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
But like, whenever we're talking about mental health or really any kind of issue that you're working through, the first step is really going, that's enough. I can't keep doing it this way. So, because on this show, a lot of times we always talk about, journaling and therapy, medication, all that fun stuff. And we might talk about it some more, but very rarely do we talk about that first step of going, I have had enough of living my life this way.
Yes.
So I love that you pointed that out, just because it's not a point that's made often enough. And when you make that decision, I think that people don't give themselves enough credit for making that decision, because it's not an easy one to make.
No, it's not. And it is, self-care is a big buzzword right now. That is a point of self-care for yourself, because you're like, this is a toxic cycle that I'm in. I have a choice. Do I want to do this or not? And I think most of us in mental health or who have anxiety, depression, fears, whatever, we don't think we have a choice. You think it's something that you have to live with your whole life. And you don't, whether you're able to conquer it on your own through natural ways or have to take medication for a brief period of time. It really depends on who you are. There are so many people who are dealing with stuff, maybe who weren't before the pandemic, but now it's like a plethora of people even your people who don't have anxiety are experiencing these things.
Yeah.
And it's ramped itself up for those who deal with it or were dealing with it already. So we have to make that choice. How do I want to live my life? I prayed a lot through that period. I'm a big believer in prayer. And, so my prayer was that, God doesn't give me the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and sound mind. And I would say that over and over and over again. So I'm like, okay, this fear, it is not how do I put this into words? The fear I was experiencing, this is not me. This is not going to define me or define who I am in this world. It's like, if you're a person who's very heavy, don't define your life and yourself that you have extra weight on your body. Sometimes it's there genetically. Sometimes it's there. In my case, it was there because it was an emotional expression of me needing protection.
Yeah.
And not feeling good enough about myself. And so we operate in our life, right, from our wounds from childhood, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Until we become aware. So what that was expressing was that something is wrong and I'm not safe. And what did I tell you about my childhood, right? My parents divorced, my grandparents died all in 1 year. So what was the message I picked up at that time? the world is not safe. Something is wrong.
Yeah.
So when I was in my mid 20s, something occurred, and I don't really know. Today, I still kind of wonder. But something occurred medically for me with my thyroid that set this whole thing off.
Oh,
And
okay.
I went from 115 pounds as a dancer to 200, 300
That's
pounds.
a big jump.
Yeah, I went from 115 to 300. That is a huge amount of weight in a
Yeah.
very short amount of time. It is not a normal thing for a body to do.
Mm-hmm.
So in that time period is when all that anxiety came in. Well, my body is going kind of just like, what's happening here, you know?
Yeah.
So it's been a long journey, I'll tell you, but I do know you can overcome these things. And you have to decide what is your truth, not the world, not social media, not the people down the street, and not your childhood, not what a parent said to you, not what a grandparent said, not even what a sibling said to you. What is your truth for yourself? What do
I
you
love
want for
that.
yourself?
I
Yeah.
love that so much because so much of who we are is defined by other people. So in the one book that I wrote, Embracing Me, the whole first chapter is about writing a letter to your younger self. And then the second
Mhm.
chapter is all about expectations from your childhood. And
Nice.
all of those expectations turns you into who you are as an adult. And if we don't recognize that some of those expectations could be toxic,
Right.
then we aren't going to be able to change that at all. So for instance, my one of my bad traits is perfectionism. And some people
Uh,
think, oh, perfectionism, that's great. But it's
no,
not,
it's not.
because it holds me captive. I can remember times in college and even in my early 20s where I literally would not do something or answer a question unless I was 100% right that that was going to be correct.
And why? Because you were afraid of failure.
Exactly.
Yes. So it stems from a fear place. And I know because I've been there, and I still deal with that because
Oh
you
yeah.
want it like the perfect edges because, oh, it looks so pretty. But part of that is that if you part of all of this is a choice to become aware and expand our awareness of who we are, where our motivations come from, what makes us do what we do, and really wanting a better life for ourselves and a better internal, emotional, mental health state of our
Yeah.
bodies, you know? And
Yeah.
it's so, so important. And it's doable. You can do it, but you have to break your habits and your belief systems of holding on to that belief. Sometimes people
Yeah.
hold on to belief systems because it's safe. If
Yes.
yes,
It's
if
what
I'm
you've always
here,
known, so it's safe. It's the same thing when people say, "Oh, that's so normal." It's like it's not that it's normal, it's that that's the way it's always been. So it's the
right.
same thing with these belief systems. You're scared of the change because it's unknown, but it doesn't mean that we need to stay in what we've always been, because clearly what we've always been isn't really working or it isn't really healthy.
No. And if you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always gotten.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
you
It's
know,
literally being insane.
that's to me, that's the definition of insanity. If you hit your
Yes,
head on the wall and it hurts, and you're looking for someone else to fix it or to change it or for it to stop hurting, then stop hitting your freaking head on the wall.
exactly.
Okay. It's that simple. And so,
Yep.
you know, so some of the tools, back to your
Yes.
original question, I do these things. I have taught my children to do these things. We do these things. I was just listening actually on Clubhouse to a group of people who do Chopra teaching. I love Chopra, Deepak Chopra. And he's so calming. He's so peaceful. He's about being in balance. And, I do grounding. I mean, I spend time in nature. Nature vibrates at the same frequency that is what is harmonious for us, you know? So
Okay.
when you go out in nature, don't you feel better? When you get out there, you feel
Mhm.
freer. You can breathe. There's no boundaries. There's nothing confining you like a house, or apartment or wherever you're living, your room. But just being able to connect with the earth. And I mean, it sounds woo woo to some people, but
I
seriously,
I agree with that. Nature is Nature is my
It
happy
is,
place.
it is a happy place, and it's really medicine for the soul, you know? And I will go when my kids are going, like I have a daughter in college, I have one in high school, and then I have an 8-year-old who's
Ugh.
on the spectrum. And so he's, whirling dervish sometimes.
And
It was
8
fun.
was like the worst for my kid. Oh my goodness. 8
Oh,
years old.
8 was hard.
It
It's a wild time, but I'm
is.
like, we're going outside. Like during the pandemic, when we were claustrophobic in the house, everybody was, we have a park nearby. That's where we went almost daily. I was like, we are getting out, we are getting sun and fresh air, and we are forgetting about all the crazy that's going on in the world.
Yeah.
And this is where our focus is going to be. We're throwing a frisbee. Hey, this is the greatest day of our life. Are we
Yeah.
laying up here looking at the blue sky? We're going to make funny faces in our phone. It's the greatest moment in our life.
Yeah.
Taking those tiny moments and making them and being in those moments is so important.
Yeah. And
So,
it's being grateful for those small moments.
yes.
Like TikTok for the last, I think I'm on day 29 now. Every day I've been doing a grateful for post. And it's all those
Oh, I love
small things. It's
it. I need to
like,
follow you.
I have a blanket. I'm grateful for that because not everybody has it. I'm grateful that I can see. I'm grateful that I can
Right.
afford glasses. Like just the smallest things that we take for granted.
Love it. Oh, I love. Okay, I'm going to follow you because I want to go watch them. But yes, I am. When I get in certain spaces, I'm going so much. I mean, I'm a mom of 3. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an author. I'm an advocate. I'm a live streamer. I've got a lot going on in my life,
Yeah.
right?
People say
So,
I have a lot going on.
and my creative mind never takes time off. There's always stuff, but it gives you a sense of purpose. So I will say tools to use: grounding, go outside and take your shoes off, let your feet connect to the earth, deep breathe very slowly, and just kind of feel your body, get in your body. If running, exercise, any kind of physical movement for anxiety is like the antidote to anxiety. So when my kids are kind of bouncing off the wall, okay, jumping jacks, let's do it. Come on, push-ups. I don't know. Let's turn on some crazy music and we're going to run around for a little while,
Yeah.
because it helps you move out of your body, whatever's stuck there. People say to me, what do you do when you're not working or writing? I write as therapy for myself.
That's how I started.
Yeah, well, there you go. And people underestimate the gift that lies within that. Paper doesn't judge you. So
Yeah.
put it all down. Put it all down and then put it away.
Nobody's saying you have to publish it like us crazy
No,
people.
there's no expectation. There's a lot of stuff I write that'll never be published, right? And it's just it's your emotional vomiting that you're doing on
Yeah,
paper, right?
exactly.
But it's taking it off your back like Santa sack that's not full of presents, full of crap, and it's putting it on paper to get
Yeah.
rid of it. Then throw it away, burn it. I don't know. I don't care what you
A
do
nice
with
little
it.
bonfire with it.
Yes, your little thing.
Throw
So I
some
mean,
marshmallows.
yeah, right, there you go. This is all my resentment from my childhood. I'm making a marshmallow. I'm making a s'more out of it.
Exactly. It works. It works.
A happy space. But I mean, we all need a toolbox in life, right? That's not tools to fix the house. They're
Yeah.
tools to fix us. So your life box.
Yes.
Here we go. We just came up with something. Hashtag life box. There
I
we
love
go.
it. I'm writing that down right now.
Okay, write it down. We're going to post it. Life box.
Yeah.
So you got to put those things in there for yourself. What works for you? Does sitting in the sun work for you? Does walking and being in the forest work for you? Does writing work for you? Does deep breathing work for you? Does a hot bath with Epsom salt work for you? Does blowing bubbles and laughing with a child work for you? What's going to get you out of that headspace of worry, depression, anxiety, fear, and into your body in the moment that you're in, and out of all the chatter that's happening.
Yeah.
Another thing that I have been a big fan of is when depression, one of the greatest antidotes for depression, get up off your butt and go help somebody else out. Go do
Yes.
something else for someone else. It doesn't matter what it is. Water the plants, walk the dog, go sit and listen to their problems.
Yeah.
And stop being in spinning that's within you that's happening.
Yeah.
We gotta
Those are great tips, all of those. So everybody can stick those in their life box.
Yeah, life box. I know, I love it.
I love it. I love it. So I totally wrote it down. I absolutely love it.
So we're going to share it because it happened here. It was born in this moment. The
That's
life
right.
box.
Yeah. Life box.
We want to sell life boxes to people. So
yeah, I love it. I
do too. I love it. Love it. So it's great.
I think I need to put it on some merch that make like a little, I don't even know, kind of toolbox looking picture and be like hashtag life box.
And then what do we put in there? So, you know, something that I'm going to be a part of an online retreat next month with 2 other ladies, and we're doing journaling, and then we're taking a dream and we're going to pick it apart, and we're going to figure out what's the block and what is that life theme that you have going on, and bust through it, you know, so you can always, the words, get where you are, from where you are to where you want to be, even if it's a baby step. But I think the 5 elements are really powerful tools for working through anything that you have to work through. Yeah. So, you know, I think, you know, writing using paper, you know, burning it, you know, even if you look into a flame, say you light a candle in front of you, put all your worries in there, put all your fear in there, put all your anxiety, put a scenario that's running through your head. If you have trauma, put it in the fire. And release it off of you. Yeah. You know,
those are awesome tools. I love all of that. And that's so cool, your little retreat thing. Very nice.
Yeah, I know. I can't. I'll send you some information about it. But it's called I think it's called Starseed Journey Retreats. We just named it. So.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So we actually have a website if you want to go check it out. But we're going to
tell everybody what it is.
We're starting our first one next month, and it is retreats that, they're all about self-care and help and pushing through and breaking through and, you know, getting yourself past where you are into where you want to be more as a person. So this one we're going to focus on, we are going to do dream journals, because your dreams are very telling, you know, of what's happening. It's the way our brain works out our day.
I dreamed I was pregnant and then found out I was pregnant.
Oh, okay, good. So you have a premonition dream. Good for you. That's very cool. My mother does stuff like that. So she did that with just 2 of my children. My third one was a God thing, because nobody called me. Nobody sent me a note. I didn't get to check yes or no. Like, you're 45, you're having a baby, lady. You look bored. So I was like, what? Wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So that's a whole different part of my life. But, you know, I do know that there are days we don't feel like we can conquer, and there are days that we struggle. And this is an unprecedented time that we are in right now. It is. But what I did with my girls last year when they were struggling so much, emotionally, mentally, you know, we're confined in the house. I can't go to school and be with my friends. I can't go do normal stuff. Everything is closed, and it's still very weird, right? I mean, schools are open, but you know, what's okay to do, what's not okay to do, you know, it's just a weird time period. Yeah. So I would say to my girls, okay, right now in the moment, what are our choices right now? You know, what are our choices? What do we have power over in the moment? Well, the power you have, where's your focus? What are you choosing to focus on and think about? So let's just kind of create this bubble around us. And in this bubble, we will be productive. Somehow we will be creative. We'll think about things we want to do and leave all of the rest of it outside. That's good. And that was very helpful for my girls to stay focus where we are right now. We cannot fix what's going on out there. We have no control over it. Sitting here chewing our nails off and freaking out is not going to fix anything.
Exactly.
So we just have to do that for ourselves. So, you know, I know we can overcome things, because if I was where I was at and I'm where I'm at now, I mean, you can overcome. Yeah, definitely. Sometimes it takes medicine. Sometimes it takes, but even if you're somebody who needs to go on medicine in order to get in a more stable place, you got to make that decision for yourself, for self-care, to do it.
Exactly. I take antidepressants every day. Right. And it goes back to what we were saying way at the beginning of the show, that first step of saying, I have had enough of living my life this way. it's a big step, and give yourself credit for making that step.
Yep. And what makes you happy? Like, what makes your heart sing? Like, I know if when a person is in the very depths of depression, you can't see clearly to get through there.
Exactly.
And so sometimes that what is required to get past that is to go help somebody else. We have a story here in Nashville. It's just one of my favorite stories I've ever heard. I love this woman's story, and I love Dr. Ming Wayne's story. If you've not ever listened to his story, his testimony, you must look him up. He's a famous eye doctor, right? He's so incredible.
Yeah.
So her story is, she was in such debilitating, her last name is Christmas. I can't remember her first name, and I love that that's her last name. That's so cool, right? What a happy name. But she was in such debilitating depression, they were going to put her in an institution. This is a very true story. You can look it up, call her or whatever. So she was at the very end, and she wanted to try one more thing. And the one more thing that she wanted to try was, she knew how to cook and she loved to cook. So she decided to take meals down to the homeless under the bridge. And that saved her life. And now she has a nationwide organization that feeds the homeless. She has a ginormous warehouse.
That is amazing.
Yep. What a great testimony, right?
Wow.
I mean, it's amazing. I've been to the warehouse. We were there last year in March. Like, the tornadoes came through Nashville, caused so much damage.
Yeah.
And the next day, my daughter's school, we went to the warehouse and we helped put together meals for the people who had lost everything. And then the pandemic closed everything down. So it all happened in 1 week last year. But
oh my goodness. Yeah. Last year was a year.
Yeah. And I had a book go up. I had my book that released in June. It went up last year, and that first week of March, and then the pandemic hit, and the publisher quit.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was an interesting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was so interesting. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. So speaking of books, great segue into what have you written, and let everybody know where to find them.
All right. Well, I have a children's series. So and near the end, we'll tell my website, because you can go there and find everything. But I have an award-winning children's series that is based off my son. And so we just released the third one, June 2nd, called Poolicious, Oh, the Wonder of Me. And it's all about that age, 4, 5, 7, 8, and the wonder years. They're just so amazing, right? And all the quirky, crazy, wild stuff that kids go through and do in that time period. But what is in all three of the books I have in that series is I am pages, trying to teach that language and starting children with affirmations young. I am love. I am joy. I am amazing. I am awesome. I am one of a kind. They need that. In the back of the
need that too, actually.
Absolutely. And
but if we teach it as the kids, then they'll already have it.
Absolutely. So let's change a generation. That's what the focus is for this. So the back of that book has got directions on how adults can start doing that with their children, and they can do it for themselves.
That is awesome, because it's easy to say do it, but it's like, how do you do it? So perfect.
Yeah. So I love it. It's all got a purpose, and so then we just released 2 days ago, the ebook, but the official launch for the book happens Tuesday, October 19th, next Tuesday. This is the cover that my daughter did. So,
and how old is your daughter?
She's 8. She just turned 18.
Okay. That's the 18-year-old. All right.
Yeah. So she's already a published illustrator several times. So she did my cover in the back.
That's so funny. My kid, the 15-year-old, it has done illustrations for me.
Fun. We should connect them. They could be like-minded souls, right?
I think so.
And we need to connect kids, because they need friends and people who understand them. They need their tribe, like we all do, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So she did the illustrations inside. Now, this book was written in 2018, and it's just now coming to life. So it's been a long birthing process, and which these things take time. Yeah. Sometimes they do. But the reason this book is so important is it is a story about 5 kids who mistreated one of their classmates, and that child had passed away from cancer. And we come in about 6 months after. That's where the story begins. And one by one, they start having this nagging feeling of guilt for what they did. And they want to be forgiven. And in the act of going to seek forgiveness, they're led on this adventure. It's like a treasure hunt, sort of. And they end up growing in ways they never knew they would, right? They learn to forgive themselves, and they learn how to teach their friends to be better friends to each other. So they affect the whole school.
That is such a good book.
Thank you.
Such
I'm
a
so
good
excited about it.
message. Oh, I'm excited too for when it finally comes
Yay.
out. So soon
Thank
too.
you.
So soon.
I'm so excited. I have been waiting and waiting for this day for so long, because I think this is so important right now. And we've got to help our kids. We've got to give them positive things in life. We got to give them positive tools. The back of the book has got about 10 to 12 applications for like single kids in a classroom, groups, classes, and a whole school. So I'm hoping it will take off. So this is a great book for teachers, guidance counselors, therapists, social workers, anywhere that, and it, we have it as 8-9-year-olds up to 13, 14, but it really depends on where your child is and their reading.
Yeah.
But, I have grown-ups who are buying the book, you know what I mean? Because
Well,
it's got that. I mean, how many of us were bullied? Almost everyone I've ever talked to, right, was bullied. But, an interesting question. How many of us have bullied someone, whether we knew it or not?
It's hilarious that you say that, because so I'm a coach for kickboxing at a gym here.
Oh, cool.
And on Tuesday, the head coach, the crew, he did a quick lesson at the very beginning about bullying.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentions sometimes we don't even realize that we're bullying when we do it, and gave some examples and stuff like that. So that's hilarious that you said it, because
that is really funny.
Happened a few days ago.
And so that's when I've been posting, that's one of the things I'm writing about. Have you ever bullied? Maybe you don't even know it.
Yeah.
Because these kids, I think, when you think about the characters in the story, they did it and they didn't realize the impact of what they were doing, but they get to look at that in this story, and I have a good friend, Sherry Leopold, and she's about, her stuff is, I think her book is about when you're the bully.
Okay.
And I think it's an adult book.
Yeah.
But her
it's
thing
about
is
time people write from a different perspective.
I know, right? And it's about, when you're being bullied, it's never about you. It's about the bully. Yeah. Always about the bully, always about what's happening to them. It never has anything to do with you at all. Yeah. And so we got to teach our kids that. Don't take it personally. Just turn around and walk away.
Yeah. Easier said than done, but yeah.
I know, right? It's very
work in progress.
We're all, even as adults, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 54, right? And so there are times that people have been, even recently something happened to me. I'm like, really? You're an adult. You're acting like this? You got to be freaking kidding me. Okay, well, I'm not putting up with that. So, exactly. But I'm old enough to be able to stand up for myself, right? And say stuff. I have life experience that's allowed me to be. It doesn't mean I always get to, because sometimes things come out of nowhere and you're not prepared for them. So it's an afterthought that you have about what you would say to that person, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's hard. But if we can give our kids enough tools to empower them, what a difference it will make in their life. If I had these tools as a child, things would have been different.
Exactly. So it's great that there's lots of us now writing that kind of story to give to the kids now, so that they don't end up like us as adults.
I know, broken, scarred, bruised, bumped, they're going to have them, but they're going to have them, but I don't know. It's a different world. What they're up against is so different.
Yeah. And so now, where can people find it? You talked about your website. So where can people find your books and follow you?
Okay. So I'm at www.maryejackson.com. So on my website, there are my books. There are my 2 anthologies that just released that I'm a part of in August. They released one is Fearless Entrepreneurs. It's all about an entrepreneurial journey of like 27 people. And the other one is called Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. And it's about journeys of 29 women and when they felt invisible in their lives and how they overcame it.
Ooh, I
So
love
it's,
that.
yeah, it's very cool. And that's a very powerful group of women who are all about collaborating over competition and support for each other. It's a great, so anybody out there who wants to be a part of a group of women like that, join, Women Action Takers Network, because it is a very, very welcoming. Yeah, no, write it down, join, please. Absolutely. Or I'll go add you, because it's a great group of women, and we all want to feel supported. We all want to feel loved. We all want to feel heard in
Yeah,
this life.
exactly.
We really do. But yeah, that's where you can find me. And I have stuff on there about advocacy, because that's a big part of my life. The link to all my shows are there. And I'm always trying to add stuff. So
Perfect. And so just very quickly tell people you have 2 shows, tell them about them.
yeah, so Writers Corner Live TV. So we air from Amazon Live and Facebook and LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, and that's all about the writing world. We have an interview every Tuesday at 10:30 Central Time with an author, and they're all the way from debut authors to New York Times bestsellers, international bestsellers, multi-award winners. We actually just this month interviewed Tommy Swerdlow, who helped write the latest Grinch that was in 2018. So it was really fun talking to him. But and we've had publishers on and illustrators as well. But then the Special Needs TV is about everything in the special needs and disability world. It features interviews with families, resources, just information, things like that. Like my son and I go once a month to our local library that we've created a sensory room there for kids, which I love so much. I know, isn't that fantastic? And we have a parent resource area. And so he and I go once a month, and with the children's librarians, we do a live video. It's about 20 minutes maybe. And we do either a science experiment or an easy craft or something that kids of all challenges, whether you're challenged or not, can do them. So we have a lot of fun with that. Like next week, we were supposed to do it 2 weeks ago, but we're going to be doing next week. We're going to be doing finger painting with Jello. So very safe, right? Very safe, so we can eat while we're painting.
That is awesome. I love it. And anybody who has been following the channel knows how important that is for myself and my family personally as well, because my kid does have autism, and so do I. And
so what level? Because they've changed things. Like I've got 2 on the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
So now it's like level 1, 2, 3. So my guy was level 2. Now he's a level 1. Tons of therapies, intervention. Blah, blah, blah.
I don't really understand the levels, to be quite honest, and because it's always changing. But it falls under the high functioning. Although I hate that term.
So for you or your son?
Both, actually.
Okay,
I am higher functioning than my son, but he still is up there. So that's why I'm like, I don't know.
Right. So I don't know. It's different for every child and
exactly.
every adult. So, but yes, high functioning would go into Asperger's.
Yeah, exactly. But now like you said, they've changed it to numbers.
Now they've morphed it. They've morphed those titles kind of.
Yeah. So
it's just ASD. It's just ASD. So.
Exactly. But it's all very confusing to my brain. So
that's okay. As long as you're getting the services that you need and you're aware.
That is one of the biggest things is, so I didn't get diagnosed till this year, actually. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my entire life makes so much more sense now. I wish I would have known this back in elementary school when, I was being bullied for whatever reasons. And I'm like, it makes so much more sense.
Isn't that amazing?
Finally.
That's amazing.
It is. So it's such an important thing. And for everybody, anybody, whether you have a disability, a family member with a disability, or you just want to become more aware of things, like your show, you got to go check it out.
Absolutely. And we have been on hiatus for a little while, but we are picking it back up. So I'm very excited about that, just because it's so, I have 2 kids on the spectrum. I'm certified to go in and help, families get services for their kids in classrooms or schools or whatever they need. And I've done it for I was in a meeting yesterday for my son. So, and what our rights are, and, legally what our rights are, that kind of thing. But, I also, my daughter who's 18 was abused by her teacher in her special need classroom when she was 4 or 5. That was devastating. For 8 months it went on, not just one time. So that changed my life completely as an advocate. I became Mama Bear on crack. Okay. trying to right the wrongs of what happened. And it is a lifelong journey, but the awareness for it to never happen again is very important. And laws changing is very important to protect children, and training is very, very important. So,
so all of those links will, of course, be down in the description below. So you can make sure to follow Mary and get all of the good information, watch her shows, get her books.
Yeah, buy the book. So we're going to be live on Amazon next Tuesday, 9:30 to 11:30 on the Writers Corner live show. We're launching the book, and it'll be in the carousel, so you can just watch and go straight there and buy it. Donate it to somebody, donate it to a school, donate it to a child.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I gotta, so my cousin's wife just got hired at their school board where they live as a EA, as an EA.
Okay.
So I'm thinking maybe I better send her this book.
Oh, I'd love for you to do that. And I'd love to hear your feedback from her.
Yeah, definitely.
I really want some schools to buy the books and take on the challenges in the back and see what happens.
Yeah,
that's what I would like.
So we are challenging anybody who is listening and watching the show right now that if you work in a school, if you have a kid in a school, if you have a family member that works in a school, pick up this book, give it to the school, and I challenge you to get them to use it and do all of the stuff at the back.
Yes. Or pick and choose. So, but we've got to start making changes here. We've seen movements happen. Movements can happen with this. So, hashtag be kind, self-care.
Hashtag Lifebox.
Hashtag Lifebox. I know. Okay, we got to have some merch with that.
We totally will.
Using it.
We'll have to talk some more.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited.
Awesome. So thank you so much for being on the show and sharing. I'm sure we would have a lot more to talk about, but I'm cutting us off.
I know, it's okay. That's fine. We're chatty Cathy girls that can go on forever.
Yeah,
somebody has to monitor our mouths.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much again, Mary, for being on the show. That was a fabulous interview. I could have kept talking to her for a long time, but we always have to cut ourselves off. So hit that like and subscribe button here at the channel. Share these episodes out. We have an important message to share with everybody. So make sure that you help us in that way. Other ways you can help is, of course, our merch store and Patreon, or if you want to sponsor an episode, that's an option too. But as always, remember that the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly.